Welcome to this comprehensive examination of Polish aviation during the Second World War. When we discuss aerial warfare in World War II, conversations typically focus on the legendary Spitfires and Hurricanes of Britain, the formidable American Mustangs and Thunderbolts, or the innovative German fighters. However, the story of Polish aircraft and aviators during this global conflict deserves far greater recognition than it has received. Today, we will explore the complete history of Polish aviation during World War II, a fascinating tale that begins with innovative domestic designs in the 1930s, continues through the desperate air battles of September 1939, and extends to Polish pilots flying Allied aircraft across multiple theaters until final victory in 1945. Poland's interwar period witnessed remarkable achievements in aviation design and development. The newly independent Polish nation recognized the strategic importance of air power and invested significantly in building both a domestic aircraft industry and a capable air force. Polish engineers designed several innovative aircraft that were competitive with or superior to contemporary foreign designs. By 1939, Poland possessed a growing aviation industry producing fighters, bombers, and reconnaissance aircraft. The Polish Air Force, while numerically smaller than the Luftwaffe, was well-trained and equipped with modern aircraft. The German invasion of September 1939 would test Polish aviation in the crucible of combat against one of the world's most powerful air forces. Despite being outnumbered approximately 4-1, Polish pilots fought with extraordinary courage and skill, achieving numerous victories and disrupting German air operations. The campaign demonstrated both the quality of Polish aircraft and the exceptional skill of Polish aviators. After Poland's defeat, the story of Polish aviation did not end. Polish pilots escaped to France, then to Britain, and eventually fought in Polish squadrons within Allied air forces. They would fly Hurricanes, Spitfires, Mustangs, Lancasters, and numerous other Allied aircraft, achieving remarkable success and becoming some of the highest-scoring Allied pilots of the war. Polish aviators participated in the Battle of Britain, bomber offensive over Germany, fighter operations across Europe, and every major air campaign until victory in 1945. Let us now examine the aircraft that equipped Polish aviation, beginning with the fighters that defended Polish skies in September 1939. Polish fighters PZL P-11C fighter. The PZL P-11C was Poland's primary fighter aircraft at the outbreak of World War II and represented both the achievements and limitations of Polish aviation in 1939. This aircraft was designed by Polish engineer Zygmunt Puławski and was revolutionary when first developed in the early 1930s. The P-11C entered service in 1934 and represented the final production variant of the P-11 series. By September 1939, approximately 175 P-11C fighters equipped the Polish Air Force, forming the backbone of Polish fighter defenses. The PZL P-11C was a single-seat, single-engine fighter of all-metal construction featuring a distinctive gull-wing design. This high-wing configuration was characteristic of Puławski's designs and provided excellent visibility for the pilot, a crucial advantage in aerial combat. The aircraft measured 7.55 meters in length with a wingspan of 10.72 meters. It stood 2.85 meters high and had an empty weight of 147 kilograms, with a loaded weight of 150 kilograms. Power came from a Bristol Mercury VS2 radial engine, licensed built in Poland by Skoda, producing 645 horsepower. This gave the P-11C a maximum speed of 390 kilometers per hour at 5,000 meters altitude, which was respectable for the mid-1930s, but obsolete by 1939 standards. The fighter could reach an altitude of 5,000 meters in approximately 7 minutes and had a service ceiling of 8,000 meters. Combat radius was approximately 500 kilometers with internal fuel. The aircraft could remain airborne for about 2.5 hours. Armament was light by 1939 standards, consisting of two 7.92mm WZ-33 machine guns mounted in the fuselage with 700 rounds per gun. Some aircraft were retrofitted with an additional two 7.92mm machine guns mounted in the wings, bringing total armament to 4 guns. The light armament reflected the fighter's design era and proved inadequate against the more robust German aircraft. The P-11C could also carry two 12.5-kilogram bombs on underwing racks for light ground attack missions. The P-11C featured several advanced design elements for its time. The all-metal construction was modern and provided good structural strength. The gull-wing design offered the pilot exceptional downward visibility, valuable for spotting enemies below or observing ground targets. The open cockpit, while exposing the pilot to the elements, provided good all-around vision. The aircraft's control response was excellent, making it highly maneuverable in dogfights. Polish pilots praised the P-11C's handling characteristics and agility. However, by September 1939, the P-11C was clearly obsolete. Its maximum speed was approximately 100 kilometers per hour, slower than German Bf-109E fighters. The lack of enclosed cockpit, retractable landing gear, and armor protection reflected its 1930s origins. The light armament was insufficient to quickly destroy modern aircraft with self-sealing fuel tanks and armor protection. The radial engine, while reliable, created significant drag and limited speed. During the September 1939 campaign, Polish P-11C pilots demonstrated extraordinary courage and skill, achieving far more than should have been possible with obsolete equipment. Polish fighter pilots flying P-11Cs shot down approximately 126 confirmed German aircraft, including modern Bf-109 fighters, though at heavy cost. The victories demonstrated that pilot skill could partially overcome equipment disadvantages, but could not prevent ultimate defeat against overwhelming numbers and superior technology. Polish P-11C pilots developed tactics to maximize their aircraft's strengths. They used the excellent visibility and maneuverability to their advantage, engaging in turning dogfights where the P-11C could compete. They avoided head-on attacks where German armament superiority was decisive. They exploited the element of surprise whenever possible. Despite these efforts, losses were severe, with most P-11Cs destroyed by war's end. Several individual Polish pilots achieved remarkable success flying the P-11C. Stanisław Skalski, who would become Poland's highest-scoring ace of the war, scored his first victories in a P-11C. Other notable aces, including Witold Urbanowicz and Jan Zumbach, also flew P-11Cs during the September campaign before escaping to continue fighting with more modern aircraft. The P-11C represented what Polish aviation could achieve in the 1930s, but also illustrated the dangers of allowing frontline equipment to become obsolete. Had Poland been able to re-equip with more modern fighters like the planned PZL Jastrzębie before the war, the September campaign's air battles might have been different. As it was, the P-11C and its brave pilots fought against impossible odds, achieving what success they could before being overwhelmed. PZL P-7A fighter. The PZL P-7 was the predecessor to the P-11C and remained in limited service in September 1939, primarily with training units and a few frontline squadrons. This fighter, also designed by Zygmunt Puławski, entered service in 1933 and represented an earlier stage in the development of Polish gull-wing fighters. Approximately 150 P-7As were built, and perhaps 30 to 40 remained operational in September 1939. The P-7A was similar in layout to the P-11C, featuring the same distinctive gull-wing configuration and all-metal construction. The aircraft was slightly smaller and lighter than the P-11C, with dimensions of 7.05 meters length and 10.65 meters wingspan. Empty weight was 1,013 kilograms with a loaded weight of 1,450 kilograms. The P-7A was powered by a Bristol Jupiter 7 radial engine producing 485 horsepower, significantly less powerful than the P-11C's engine. Maximum speed was only 327 kilometers per hour, making the P-7A even more outclassed than the P-11C against German aircraft. Service ceiling was 6,500 meters and range approximately 550 kilometers. Armament consisted of two 7.92mm machine guns, identical to early P-11C aircraft. The P-7A featured an open cockpit and fixed landing gear with distinctive aerodynamic fairings. By 1939, the P-7A was thoroughly obsolete, and most had been relegated to training duties. However, desperate circumstances during the September campaign meant that some P-7As were pressed into frontline service. Polish pilots flying these outdated fighters faced even worse odds than their colleagues in P-11Cs, yet still achieved occasional victories through skill and determination. Several German aircraft fell to P-7A pilots during the campaign, though losses were proportionally higher than for more modern types. The P-7A's primary contribution in September 1939 was allowing more P-11Cs to serve in frontline units by handling training and second-line duties. After Poland's defeat, surviving P-7As were captured by German forces or destroyed. A few may have been used by Romanian forces after Polish aircraft sought refuge in Romania following the September defeat. PZL P-24 fighter. The PZL P-24 was an export variant of the P-11 series featuring a more powerful engine and heavier armament. While primarily produced for export customers including Greece, Romania, Bulgaria, and Turkey, a small number may have been available to Polish forces in September 1939, either as prototypes or aircraft that had not yet been delivered to foreign customers. The P-24 featured a Gnome-Rhone 14N radial engine producing 970 horsepower, significantly more powerful than the P-11C's engine. This gave the P-24 a maximum speed of 430 kilometers per hour, making it competitive with early Bf-109 variants. Armament was substantially improved, with 4 7.92mm machine guns as standard, and some variants featuring 2 20mm cannons, making it far more lethal than the P-11C. The P-24 represented what the P-11C could have been with continued development and proper engines. Unfortunately, Poland prioritized export sales of the more advanced P-24 to earn foreign currency while retaining the less capable P-11C for its own use, a decision that would prove costly in September 1939. Had Polish fighter squadrons been equipped with P-24s instead of P-11Cs, they would have been far more effective against German aircraft. Foreign air forces that operated P-24s achieved some success with them. Greek and Romanian P-24s fought against Italian and later German aircraft, achieving victories and proving the aircraft's combat effectiveness when properly equipped and armed. This demonstrated that Polish fighter designs remained viable if given adequate engines and armament. PZL-50 Jastrząb. The PZL-50 Jastrząb deserves mention as Poland's next-generation fighter that never reached production. This aircraft was designed to replace the obsolete P-11C with a modern low-wing monoplane fighter featuring retractable landing gear, enclosed cockpit, and performance-matching German Bf-109s. The prototype first flew in February 1939 and showed excellent performance with a maximum speed approaching 480 kilometers per hour. The Jastrząb featured a Bristol Mercury E-Waith radial engine producing 840 horsepower and was armed with 4 7.92mm machine guns, or 2 machine guns and 2 20mm cannons. The aircraft's modern design and good performance suggested it would have been competitive with German and other foreign fighters. However, development problems and production delays meant that only prototypes existed when war began. Had the PZL-50 entered production in 1938 as originally planned, and had several hundred equipped Polish squadrons by September 1939, the air campaign would have been dramatically different. Polish pilots in modern fighters matching German performance could have inflicted far heavier losses on the Luftwaffe and possibly extended Polish resistance. Unfortunately, this remained a tantalizing what-if of history. The Jastrząb prototypes were destroyed during the September campaign, and the project died with Polish independence. Polish bombers. PZL-23 Karaś. The PZL-23 Karaś was Poland's standard light bomber and reconnaissance aircraft in September 1939. This modern aircraft represented a significant achievement in Polish aviation design and was comparable to similar types in other air forces. Approximately 250 Karaś bombers equipped Polish bomber and reconnaissance squadrons when war began, making it the most numerous Polish combat aircraft after the P-11C fighter. The PZL-23 was a single-engine, low-wing monoplane of all-metal construction. The 3-man crew consisted of pilot, observer, bombardier, and rear gunner, radio operator. The aircraft measured 9.68 meters in length with a wingspan of 13.95 meters and stood 3.30 meters high. Empty weight was 128 kilograms with a loaded weight of 3,126 kilograms, giving it good payload capacity. Power came from a PZL Bristol Pegasus 8 radial engine producing 680 horsepower. Maximum speed was 319 kilometers per hour at 3,400 meters, reasonable for a light bomber, but vulnerable to modern fighters. Service ceiling was 7,300 meters and range approximately 1,260 kilometers with maximum fuel and reduced bomb load, or about 700 kilometers with full weapons load. The aircraft could remain airborne for nearly 4 hours. Armament consisted of a fixed forward-firing 7.92 millimeter machine gun for the pilot and a flexible 7.92 millimeter machine gun in a rear-facing mounting operated by the gunner. Some aircraft had additional machine guns in ventral or beam positions. Defensive armament was light by 1939 standards and proved inadequate against German fighters. The bomb load was up to 700 kilograms carried in an internal bomb bay, with typical loads being 300, 400 kilograms of various bomb types. The Courage featured several modern design elements. The all-metal stressed skin construction was state-of-the-art. The cantilever low-wing design provided good stability and handling. The retractable main landing gear reduced drag compared to fixed-gear aircraft, though the process was manual and time-consuming. The aircraft featured good visibility for all crew members, with the observer positioned in a glazed nose section and the gunner in a raised position with good fields of fire to the rear. During the September 1939 campaign, Courage bombers flew numerous missions against German forces, attacking advancing armored columns, troop concentrations, supply lines, and airfields. Polish bomber crews demonstrated considerable courage, often attacking in daylight against heavy anti-aircraft fire and fighter opposition. The Courage proved capable of sustaining significant battle damage and returning to base, testament to its robust construction. However, the Courage suffered heavy losses during the campaign. German fighters could easily overtake the relatively slow bomber, and the light defensive armament provided inadequate protection. German anti-aircraft fire was intense and accurate. Despite achieving some tactical successes and inflicting casualties on German forces, Polish bomber losses were unsustainable. By the end of the September campaign, most Courage bombers had been destroyed or damaged beyond repair. Some Courage bombers escaped to Romania when Polish resistance collapsed, where they were interned. The Romanian Air Force subsequently used these aircraft for training and limited operational duties. German forces captured some damaged or abandoned Courage bombers, evaluating them before scrapping most. The Courage represented capable Polish bomber design, but faced an impossible situation against German air superiority. PZL-37 Wash. The PZL-37 Wash was Poland's most modern and capable bomber in September 1939 and represented one of the finest medium bomber designs in Europe at that time. This twin-engine bomber was innovative, well-armed, and carried an impressive bomb load. Unfortunately, production had only recently begun, and only approximately 36 Wash bombers were operational when war broke out, far fewer than Polish Air Force requirements. Another 70 or so were in various stages of production, but never completed. The PZL-37 was a twin-engine, low-wing monoplane of all-metal construction. The aircraft measured 12.92 meters in length, with a wingspan of 17.93 meters, and stood 5.08 meters high. Empty weight was 4,180 kilograms with a maximum loaded weight of 8,900 kilograms. The four-man crew consisted of pilot, co-pilot, bombardier, observer, navigator, and gunner, radio operator. Power came from two PZL Bristol Pegasus XX radial engines, each producing 925 horsepower. Maximum speed was 445 kilometers per hour at 3,300 meters, making the Wash one of the fastest bombers of its era and fast enough to outrun some fighter types. Cruising speed was approximately 350 kilometers per hour. Service ceiling was 7,000 meters, and maximum range was an impressive 2,600 kilometers with reduced bomb load, allowing deep penetration missions. With full bomb load, combat radius was approximately 1,500 kilometers. The aircraft could remain airborne for up to 6 hours. Armament for the PZL-37B variant, which equipped most operational aircraft, consisted of 3 7.92 millimeter machine guns, one in the nose, one in a dorsal position, and one in a ventral position. This defensive armament was modest but adequate for 1939. The bomb load was exceptional for a medium bomber of this era, up to 2,580 kilograms carried internally, far exceeding most contemporary designs. Typical loads range from 1,000 to 2,000 kilograms of various bomb types. The large internal bomb bay allowed carriage of bombs up to 300 kilograms individually. The Wash featured numerous advanced design elements that made it one of the most modern bombers of 1939. The twin-engine configuration provided good safety margins if one engine was damaged. The all-metal stressed skin construction was robust and could withstand significant battle damage. The retractable landing gear reduced drag and increased speed. The aircraft featured excellent crew accommodations with good visibility and comfort. The spacious bomb bay was well designed for efficient loading and release. The flight characteristics were stable and forgiving, making it popular with crews. Foreign observers were impressed by the Wash, and several nations expressed interest in purchasing production licenses or complete aircraft. Belgium and Romania negotiated to acquire Wash bombers, but deliveries had not been completed when war began. The aircraft's performance and capability matched or exceeded foreign designs like the Bristol Blenheim, Dornier Do 17, or Heinkel He 111 of similar vintage. During the September 1939 campaign, PZL-37, Wash bombers flew numerous missions against German forces. The aircraft's speed and bomb load made it effective, and several successful attacks were conducted against German armored columns, bridges, and supply concentrations. The Wash could often outrun pursuing German fighters, and its robust construction allowed damaged aircraft to return to base. However, the small number available meant the Wash had limited overall impact on the campaign. As Polish resistance collapsed, efforts were made to evacuate Wash bombers to Romania to prevent their capture. Approximately 26 to 30 Wash bombers reached Romania, where they were interned. The Romanian Air Force was impressed with the aircraft and put them into Romanian service, using them operationally until 1941. German forces captured the Wash production facilities and several incomplete or damaged aircraft, evaluating the design before scrapping most examples. The PZL-37 Wash represented the peak of Polish bomber design and demonstrated that Polish aviation engineers could create world-class aircraft. Had production begun earlier and several hundred Wash bombers equipped Polish squadrons by September 1939, they would have significantly enhanced Polish bomber capability. The Wash remains a symbol of what Polish aviation achieved and what might have been with more time and resources. Polish Reconnaissance and Observation Aircraft, RWD-14 Chopla. The RWD-14 Chopla was Poland's primary Army cooperation and observation aircraft in September 1939. This high-wing monoplane was designed for short takeoff and landing performance, allowing operations from rough fields close to the front lines. Approximately 65 RWD-14s equipped Polish Army cooperation squadrons when war began. The RWD-14 was a two-seat, single-engine aircraft of mixed construction with metal framework and fabric covering. The aircraft measured 9.20 meters in length with a wingspan of 12.0 meters. Empty weight was 780 kilograms with a loaded weight of 1,320 kilograms. Power came from a PZL major radial engine producing 220 horsepower, giving a maximum speed of 225 kilometers per hour. Range was approximately 630 kilometers and service ceiling 5,400 meters. Armament consisted of one fixed forward-firing 7.92 millimeter machine gun and one flexible 7.92 millimeter machine gun for the observer. The aircraft could also carry up to 100 kilograms of small bombs for light ground attack missions. The primary role was reconnaissance and artillery spotting rather than combat. During the September 1939 campaign, RWD-14 crews conducted vital reconnaissance missions, providing information on German troop movements and positions. The aircraft's ability to operate from rough fields near the front proved valuable. However, the slow speed and light armament made RWD-14s vulnerable to German fighters, and losses were heavy. Despite this, Polish crews continued flying dangerous reconnaissance missions throughout the campaign. PWS-26 Observation Aircraft. The PWS-26 was another Polish observation and liaison aircraft that saw limited service in September 1939. Approximately 40 had been built, serving with Army cooperation units. This high-wing monoplane was similar in concept to the RWD-14, but with slightly different characteristics. The PWS-26 was powered by a Skoda-built Wright Whirlwind radial engine, producing 220 horsepower. Performance was similar to the RWD-14, with a maximum speed around 230 kilometers per hour and range of approximately 700 kilometers. The two-man crew consisted of pilot and observer. Armament was light, with one or two 7.92mm machine guns. During the September campaign, PWS-26 aircraft flew reconnaissance and liaison missions, suffering similar casualties to other Polish observation aircraft. RWD-8 trainer. The RWD-8 was primarily a trainer aircraft, but saw limited operational use during the September campaign when all available aircraft were pressed into service. This two-seat biplane was simple, robust, and widely used for pilot training. Approximately 500 had been built by 1939, making it one of the most numerous Polish aircraft types. The RWD-8 was powered by a small radial engine, producing around 130 horsepower, giving a maximum speed of only 195 kilometers per hour. Armament was minimal or non-existent on training versions. During the September 1939 campaign, some RWD-8s were used for liaison, casualty evacuation, and light observation duties in areas where German fighter activity was minimal. Several were pressed into desperate ground attack missions carrying small bombs, though their effectiveness was negligible. Polish pilots in Allied service. Aircraft flown. Hawker Hurricane. After escaping to France and then Britain, Polish pilots were equipped with Allied aircraft. The Hawker Hurricane became the first British fighter flown operationally by Polish squadrons. This rugged single-seat fighter was powered by a Rolls-Royce Merlin engine, producing approximately 1,200 horsepower, depending on variant. Maximum speed ranged from 520 to 550 kilometers per hour. Armament consisted of 8 303-inch machine guns in early versions, or 4 20mm cannons in later variants. Polish squadrons, most notably No. 303 Squadron RAF, flew Hurricanes during the Battle of Britain in 1940. Polish Hurricane pilots achieved remarkable success, with No. 303 Squadron becoming the highest-scoring RAF squadron during the battle. Polish tactics, honed during the September 1939 campaign, proved effective. Polish pilots developed a reputation for aggressive flying and marksmanship. The Hurricane's ruggedness and good handling suited Polish pilots well. Polish Hurricane squadrons continued operating throughout 1941-1942, conducting fighter sweeps, bomber escort, and defensive patrols. As more modern fighters became available, most Polish squadrons transitioned to Spitfires, though some continued flying Hurricanes in ground attack roles and in other theaters including North Africa and the Mediterranean. Supermarine Spitfire. The Supermarine Spitfire became the primary fighter for Polish squadrons in RAF service and remained so for much of the war. This legendary British fighter was powered by Rolls-Royce Merlin or Griffon engines, producing 1,000 to over 2,000 horsepower, depending on variant. Maximum speed ranged from 580 to over 700 kilometers per hour in late versions. Armament evolved from 8 machine guns to various combinations of machine guns and cannons. Polish pilots flew virtually every Mark of Spitfire from the Mark I through the Mark XIV and beyond. Polish squadrons equipped with Spitfires conducted fighter sweeps over occupied Europe, escorted bombers, intercepted German raiders, and participated in every major air operation over Western Europe from 1941 to 1945. Polish Spitfire pilots achieved hundreds of victories and produced numerous aces. Notable Polish aces flying Spitfires included Stanisław Skalski, who became Poland's highest-scoring ace with over 20 victories, Jan Zumbach, Witold Urbanowicz, and many others. Polish pilots flying Spitfires participated in Operation Jubilee, Dieppe Raid, Operation Overlord, D-Day, Operation Market Garden, and countless other operations. Their combat record flying Spitfires was exceptional, earning them respect from allies and enemies alike. The Spitfire's excellent performance, particularly its speed and maneuverability, suited Polish fighting tactics. Polish pilots developed a reputation for aggressive attacks and pursuing enemies determinedly. The Spitfire gave them the aircraft to execute these tactics effectively. Polish Spitfire squadrons remained operational until war's end, with some transitioning to jets shortly afterward. North American P-51 Mustang. Polish squadrons operating within the RAF also flew American-built P-51 Mustang fighters in the final year of the war. This long-range escort fighter, powered by a Packard-built Rolls-Royce Merlin engine, producing 1,190 horsepower, could reach speeds over 700 kilometers per hour. Armament consisted of 650 caliber machine guns. Polish pilots appreciated the Mustang's long range, excellent performance, and heavy armament. The Mustang's range allowed Polish squadrons to escort bombers deep into Germany and conduct fighter sweeps over areas previously beyond reach. Polish Mustang pilots achieved numerous victories in the final months of the war. The transition to Mustangs demonstrated Polish pilots' adaptability to different aircraft types. Avro Lancaster. Polish bomber crews served in RAF squadrons flying Avro Lancaster heavy bombers. This four-engine bomber was Britain's premier heavy bomber, carrying bomb loads up to 10 tons. Polish crews participated in the strategic bombing campaign against Germany, flying dangerous night missions over heavily defended targets. Polish Lancaster crews flew in number 300 and 301 squadrons RAF, Polish bomber units. They participated in raids on German cities, industrial targets, and military installations. Polish bomber crews demonstrated the same courage in bombers that Polish fighter pilots showed in fighters. Many Polish airmen were lost in the bomber offensive, but those who survived contributed significantly to the campaign that devastated German war production. Vickers Wellington. Before transitioning to Lancasters, Polish bomber squadrons flew Vickers Wellington medium bombers. This twin-engine bomber featured unique geodetic construction, providing excellent damage resistance. Polish Wellington crews flew bombing missions against German targets from 1940 through 1942, suffering heavy losses but persisting in the campaign. The story of Polish aircraft in World War II begins with innovative domestic designs like the PZL-P11, Karash, and Wash that demonstrated Polish engineering capability. While circumstances forced Polish pilots to fight the September 1939 campaign with aircraft that were becoming obsolete, they achieved remarkable results through skill and courage. The P-11C fighter, though outclassed, remained in Polish hands a deadly opponent through pilot quality. The Karash bomber served effectively in impossible circumstances. The Wash bomber represented world-class design that never reached its potential due to insufficient production time. After September 1939, Polish pilots proved they could master any aircraft and achieve success with proper equipment. Flying Hurricanes, Spitfires, Mustangs, Lancasters, and numerous other Allied types, Polish aviators compiled exceptional combat records. They participated in every major air campaign of the European War and made significant contributions to Allied victory. Polish fighter pilots became feared opponents of the Luftwaffe. Polish bomber crews demonstrated equal courage over German targets night after night. The legacy of Polish aviation in World War II extends beyond the aircraft themselves. Polish pilots demonstrated that national spirit and determination could overcome incredible obstacles. They showed that skilled, motivated pilots could achieve success regardless of aircraft type. They proved Polish aviators ranked among the finest in the world. The aircraft they flew, whether Polish-designed P-11Cs or British Spitfires, were tools in the hands of exceptional warriors. Thank you for joining us on this comprehensive exploration of Polish aircraft during World War II. From the gull-winged P-11C defending Polish skies in September 1939, to Spitfires bearing Polish markings over Germany in 1945, Polish aviation wrote a remarkable chapter in the history of aerial warfare. The courage and skill of Polish pilots, regardless of what aircraft they flew, deserves our recognition and remembrance. They fought from the first day of the war to the last, never surrendering, never giving up hope, always fighting for Poland's freedom.